away we go. We're racing here. Then round 4 on the core WEC series. Good start by Immortal for Dixon. Getting up right there. Can he move to the outside? He moves to the outside and into turn number 1. Is he going to be able to find a way through? Here comes Memso in the Bentley, trying to find a way past the pace but he can't. Here comes Dixon again, heading through into turn number 3. Can he make the boost stick? No, he can't. Here come the race leaders, and as they come, Hero Immortal's gone, and he's suddenly gone from a 2.5 lead to suddenly down in the dumps. He's now down in 3rd. Minchin did take the lead, but now we're seeing Mentos in the lead on the timing screen. So Mentos managing to get come on to the lead now. Minchin 2nd, Hero Immortal 3rd, and there is with 5 past 8 here comes Mentos, gonna get him out on the outside. He's through. Got him. Well, Mentos, what's he doing? Did you see that something? He's hanging around. Through the outside he goes, and was in the wall, and this could benefit Minchin. Now he's right up on the back. On the Bentley, he moves to the outside and he gets to turn number 1. Can he make him squeeze wide? Running a bit wide, but Memphis still has a line. Can he squeeze for the exit? Yes, he can. Memphis holds a line. And what a fantastic bit of racing that was. He's going through, surely. Now inside the side by side. Heading into turn number 4. Can they do it? Yes, he can. Piece of cake for Minchin. How close that is. And Memphis losing out to Minchin in that round of stops. Minchin, what, about 0.2 of a second behind on side by side. Can he get it done? Down the outside. He's going to take it on the outside. That's the way move. And then she gives him a little tap. Little tap again there. Careful boy, don't want to cause some damage now. And turn that getting exceptionally close to back. And Inchin through the inside, and he's done him. He has done him now through turn number 5. Can Inchin get it back on the exit? No, he can't. And Memto makes the move stick into 2nd position. Moves the inside into turn number 4, literally outside at 5. Is he going to break late? Does he dare? Yes, he does. He's on the dirty line though, but it looks like he's going through right outside. How did he do that?
Jeez, that was a brilliant move. Fortunately, the race had been red flagged at this point due to technical issues. Over 70% of the race had been covered, so the race was decided not to continue. So after just 77 laps out of the originally scheduled 96, Immortal Pilot won in LMP from Ninchin and Mento89, while in GTE it was Kabani who was victorious ahead of Widfo and Pikey Mikey.
Over the course of the month-long break, there have been several changes in the WEC. In LMP, newcomers Ice Cold Racing will bring the Audi R18 back to the grid in the capable hands of Mini Stiggy and Texas Time. In the GTE ranks, there have been many changes. Poland 24 Racing have withdrawn from the series, and so have Dutch British Motorsport. DBM withdrew following a motorcycle accident for Massacre Gore. We wish him all the best and hope to see him back out on track soon. In addition, several teams have switched cars during the break. Made for Racing and Professor Duck Motorsport have both switched to McLaren, while HDR switched to Corvette from BMW. 2 new teams are set to join, confirming a full grid for Monza. Our new LMP team, Buster Hyman Engineering, features the return of Ayrton Kumak alongside race car and a Bentley, while in GTE the BMW M3 GT2 returns to the grid with Team BMW Motorsport. The cars will be piloted by T&R Little Buddy and Mr. Bentley 2010.
Hello and welcome here then to a pretty damp and a pretty drizzly Brands Hatch circuit, the Garden of England as it is well known in Kent. Joined alongside me for the start of today's coverage, it is Ethan. Good morning Ethan and welcome to the coverage.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here Ethan, and it's good to see a different guy in the box for a change.
Yeah, it's good to be here. It's going to be an interesting race with the slightly damp conditions of Brands Hatch and the interesting battles that go on throughout both categories on the race tonight.
So what kind of conditions that we've got today, of course, very damp, very drizzly, but how will this affect the drivers out there? Does this kind of make them think a bit harder, make them perhaps kind of not go for that move, you know? Will this kind of hold them back slightly, or does the conditions not really play a major factor in this race?
As it's only damp and we're still on slick tyres, probably not, just because the it doesn't make that much difference to the cars. The mid-engine cars may get a little bit more oversteer than the front-engine cars in the GTE. I mean, all the LMPs are mid-engine, so it's a pretty level playing field there. But no, the conditions, if it doesn't rain any harder or pick up raining at all, then the conditions will drop very quickly. So I would say, no, I don't think it would change the drivers' attitudes when it comes to overtaking. They'll just be a bit slower over a lap.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see who's going to come out on top then. Of course, we've seen TRL Immortal Pilot come into the series and pretty much being pretty quick straight out the block. In fact, there he is now as they come up then towards the Grand Prix loop part of the circuit. And TRL Immortal has definitely been one of these people to watch this season. He's come into the series, he's pretty much shown his hand, dominated the race he's been in and really shown his worth in the series. So who's your tip on them today for the race, Ethan?
Well, Immortal should be very fast, but he'll be hounded probably by Ninchin and possibly Stiggy, who is a JF517's, I will refer to him as Stiggy, because saying that number is going to probably go wrong. So JF is a Stiggy. I think those three will be very quick.
7860.
I think those three will be.
Go on, Ethan.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say just those three will probably be in the top of LMP, but I do agree that Immortal will probably come out on top. But of course, the race is only half done today. Yes,
of course, you've got the second part of the race tomorrow, where sometimes what people have said in the past, the lesser of the least experienced drivers of the team, you usually put in your more experienced driver during the first half of the weekend, where you can get that good qualifying result in place.
Yeah, a lot of the teams do have their faster driver in the first race to see if they can secure pole. If they feel like neither driver can secure pole, I've seen a lot of teams actually put their second driver in for the first race and keep their quick driver for the second race, as that will allow them to maximise points on the second race, or maximise their times. So as we come to the timing screen, we can see that Immortal is currently on provisional pole, followed by Stiggy and Ninchin by between a second, I'd say the top three are, and then it's a little bit further back down to... Oh, no, it's not, sorry. The fifth place currently is held by Kane, who's the leader of the GTE field. So we've only got 4 LMPs so far, which produced a lap time.
Yeah. And as they still come around on the circuit, of course, during the qualification run, then we're going to quickly give you a quick tour of the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit for those not accustomed to the circuit. So, of course, you start off on the kind of the mid start-finish straight. It's not a short start-finish straight, but it's not really too long either. So it's definitely kind of line up the move going into that quick right-hand lap, Paddock Bend, where the track just drops down on you, and then you head up Pilgrim's Rise, then towards Druids, that tight right-hander, that kind of in that tight hairpin section of the corner. Then you head down the hill, you go into Graham Hill Bend. It's that quick sort of left-hander where you don't want to run too wide on the exit, and you want to try and optimise your run as you head down towards Clearways, towards that left-hander, as you head up then towards the Grand Prix part of the circuit. You head back up the Grand Prix hill, down the short drop, it is known as Pilgrim's Drop. It's a very kind of steep section, so it'll be interesting to see how that happens, to see what happens down there, because into Hawthorns it's always kind of very interesting to see where those moves can be pulled off as they head down into Hawthorns, that quick right-hander. Then you head down the kind of the mid again, the Portobello Straight, before heading into Westfield Bend. Now, of course, the Westfield Bend, one of these quick right-handers, it's almost got kind of 2 parts to it, so that's definitely one which could be interesting to see. As they then head down towards Dingledale Corner, which is that quick kind of right-hand section. Again, don't want to run too wide on that section, because if you can do that, then you're going to end up kind of getting that good run going into Stirling's, so that'll be interesting to see if that can happen. Going into Stirling's, which is then that quick left-hand section, and then you head down that short straight again towards Clearways, that quick right-hander before you head then back on to the start-finish straight. So that is a quick lap of the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. So it's going to be good to see how the drivers can master that. TL Immortal currently leading the way. It's Mini Stiggy in second position, the American driver coming into this series, so he looks like he could have a strong weekend this year. Ninchin third, Memto 89 there in fourth position, Glenhouse 81 there in fifth, Rebel Rider 20 in sixth position, GP Kane seventh, Pikey Mikey there in eighth position. So some good strong position there, so it's going to be good to see how that can play out over time. So yes, according to my screen here, we've got 12 minutes dead until the end of qualification session. Now coming on to the coming up to about 10 seconds later than that, so it's going to be good to see that, see who can stay on top throughout this session. Still 11 minutes 47 seconds to go in this one as they head up again. Then we're looking now at RS96 in that number 4 Ford GT40. In fact, we've got a car off. It's Kane. Kane has gone off at Paddock Hill Bend. He's smashed against the inside wall, and that's not how GTP Kane is going to want to start this race here today, because he might have damage to that vehicle. He may not even be able to get out for the race if there's damage to that car, so that's definitely going to hinder his progress throughout this qualifying session and going into the race, due to start in about 10 minutes or so time. We've got 11 minutes and 5 seconds remaining on the qualifying clock as we see RS96 head down the hill now, going round Hawthorne Bend, heading into Wakefield now. As I said, there's sort of two parts to this corner again, and then he's coming down now then towards the Dingledale corner. It's this quick right flick section, very fastly there, run wide on that bit, and you're going off into that vast gravel trap there on that outside into Stirling's, down the short straight before they then head back into Clearways again and head back around this back onto the start finish straight, back onto the Indy circuit, and back on with the qualifying session. In fact, the front headlamps there flashing away on RS96 as the clouds get slightly darker here at Brands Hatch, or perhaps there's more rain on the horizon. TL Immortal still fast in the session. Again, the German driver showing clear dominance throughout this race today. He's definitely showing like he has the potential to go on and win this one if he can get this good pole position lap. If he can go and get this good positioning on circuit, then that is definitely where he would want to be. A couple faster sectors though currently being set by Glenhouse 81. Of course, Glenhouse 81 for Concrete Climax Racing normally, so it'll be interesting to see if he's still competing for that team in this event. And as they come around again, who will move up? We've still got 9 minutes 22 seconds to go in this session. 9 minutes 22 seconds as they go back round again. Ninchin now coming into the Grand Prix loop again then, of course, in this Peugeot. He's not teammates, in fact, to TRL Immortal. They're both racing the same blue and white Peugeot car, Toyota Peugeot car. However, they are in different teams, so that's something to watch out for a newcomer to core. You might not understand the differences between these guys. Here is now 289 coming down the hill into Graham Hill Bend. Have we got Ethan back with us? Ethan, are you back with us?
I am now back with us. I was just going to say for the race for tomorrow, Iwazir will be driving in the Orica livery car, which is the car actual livery. So it'll be easier to tell which of the two Peugeots are running and where they are positioned. As we see Memto there just having a small excursion into the gravel trap, and we're now on board with Nico Demas.
No, Nico Demas has gone off.
And he has just gone off,
Demas
yes, I was just saying.
Yes, Nico Demas not having the best of times either. We had Nico go off, we've had Memto go off, so perhaps, these guys still kind of getting used to this circuit, because there is a test day, of course, before the race takes place, but there may not be sufficient enough time for these guys to go out there and get a decent kind of run of this circuit before the qualifying begins.
Well, they would have had the 2 weeks in between the two races, because this, of course, is the start of the European leg after we finished in America at Laguna Seca. And it seems Nico just ran wide a little bit at the corners. A lot of these corners are unsighted, and you're going in and you're guessing how how fast you need to go into the corner instead of actually seeing where the exit is. So it's very much a balancing act, this track. As we see Plots the Duck there in the McLaren.
Yeah, go on. That's Plots the Duck.
Yep, this is Plots the Duck driving in his first race back in WEC. Former competitor in both Series 1 and Series 2. Has 3 wins to his name, as I believe, and it seems that he hasn't really got on with the car today so much. He's down in 11th position behind the Corvette of Nicodemus, and in front of the Corvette of that is not actually TRL Immortal. There's been a small glitch with the screen there. It seems we've had a car which isn't TRL Immortal come up with his name tag. I believe it to be the red Corvette. And then behind him is the Mazda of NFS Freak. So as we run through
normally when we see these cars pull off to the side, it means that they're quite content with their lap, and they're not going to go again for another qualifying run. So perhaps that's the case with that car off to the side. Kind of a bit more information here, Len, about the Ramsat circuit, which was situated in here this weekend. The circuit reopened in 1949 after the war. The original kidney-shaped circuit was extended in 1954 with the addition of a loop up the hill to do its hairpin. Then in 1960, the circuit was extended again to the full Grand Prix length that we are on today. So the circuit then has stood like this for about 54 years now. So some good heritage here this weekend for the core drivers to really sink their teeth into.
Yes, there's been a few changes since then. Graham Hill Bend has been reprofiled a few times, but there's been no real extension to the track. As we see Plots the Duck there on the driver track are having a small spin at Paddock Hill. I think that might be the end of his qualifying run. He seems to be pulling off the road. But we still have a few cars circulating, trying to set quick laps. Of course, with the two sets of tyre models that we have to cope with in core WC racing due to the small tyre glitch that we have on Gran Turismo 6, the first set of tyres you get are far grippier and what we would refer to as qualifying tyres. But once you've pitted once, you end up with the race tyre, which is a lot more durable, but nowhere near as grippy, especially at the front. So once you've got damage once, you kind of have finished with your qualifying run, because you won't be able to get the same sort of lap time out of the second race tyre model that we use during the races.
Well, and I was speaking actually to series director Matt Story a bit earlier, and he says that this weekend's racing will be one of the last times that we'll see them doing 2 formation laps come the start of the race, because Gran Turismo apparently will be fixing this tyre glitch, so there'll be no more need to go and do the 2 formation laps. So perhaps this tyre glitch will be sorted and we'll be able to get some good decent running on track again, instead of having to come in straight away and do that tyre change.
Well, either way, it doesn't really affect the racing so much, or the qualifying, because of course they're two different parts of the race, and we have just used the double pace lap to bring everyone onto an even plane. But yes, it does take up more time, and it's not very useful to have to do that, because of course the drivers have to set their car up in 2 different ways. They have to set it up for qualifying, but then make sure that their qualifying setting doesn't compromise their... as we see Nicodemus there running off at Paddock Hill Bend and finishing his run, it seems, as well. So yes, the cars need to be set up kind of a compromise for both. While once we have a single tyre model to play with, then the cars can be set up in one way, and that makes it a lot simpler, and it's just down to how you drive the car to try and make your tyres last a little bit longer during the race, and then you go full attack on the qualifying runs.
Well, Ethan, you've been a driver in the series before. Why do drivers kind of stop their qualifying runs and then veer off the circuit? Wouldn't it be more kind of easier for them to keep going, to try and keep setting a faster lap? Because who knows, that one extra lap you do could end up being a pole position lap time.
The tyres do burn out after about 4 or 5 laps. They start losing a little bit of grip after 8 laps or so. Then they're pretty much hopeless by then. All you're doing is just getting some running in. Unless you were to do 6 laps at about 50 miles an hour and not burn anything off them and just waste some fuel, it's really not worth going on for too long on the tyres, because you won't be able to improve. just because the tyres will lose their grip. You see it in all motor racing series. The tyres are at their best when they're newest. They've got the most rubber. They've got the most, they have the most grip at that point. So
yes, and we've only got a couple of minutes to go here in this qualifying session, Ethan. So it'll be interesting to see who goes the whole distance in this session.
We seem to have 2 cars still rolling around. Oh, 3 cars still circulating on track. But I do doubt we'll see any real improvement in terms of lap time. Maybe some of the drivers have decided to change onto the race tire now after burning up their qualifying tyres, just to get their eyes back in with the race tyres, which are worth about 2 seconds a lap less. So you gain you lose 2 seconds per lap if you're on a race tyre. So yeah, they're definitely a hindrance. You can't qualify on them, but maybe some drivers have just seen it's a good idea just to run on the other tyre and just see how the car changes again, get their eye in back for the race.
And by the sounds of it, we can just hear a police car here then just outside our commentary box. So obviously someone misbehaving around the Brands Hatch area as we look at Memto 89 coming through Stirling, so heading up towards the Indy circuit again, and Memto might be able to get another kind of dirty, maybe another lap out of this. Now then, perhaps that police car was going to get a Volkswagen Polo that perhaps made its way onto the circuit. Of course, it happened a couple of weeks ago in the Fun Cup at Brands Hatch.
Yes, it did indeed. It was a slightly interesting event that happened during that race, but hopefully all that will be tidied up without it affecting the races. Of course, as we see in the background of the shot there, just a glimpse of the Audi, which has returned for the first time since Willow Springs. So as we come now to the qualifying results, we have TRL Immortal on pole with a 109.8. That Audi there from Mini Stiggy 110.206, so 4 tenths between them. The Peugeots are split there by that Audi. There's only 2 tenths between Ninchin, and then we have Glen Owls in the Bentley and the 2 Pescarellos bringing up the rear of LMP.
Yes, TRL Immortal pole position 1:09.883, second Mini Stiggy 1:10.206, third Ninchin 1 minute 10.457, fourth Glen Owls 81 1 minute 10.843, fifth position and sixth position the 2 Pescarello drivers there. Fifth position Memto 89 1 minute 11.473. Then Red Bull Rider 20, 1 minute 14.925. As we head on then to the GT results then, Ethan.
Yes, so we have GTPK in the pole position with a 17.7, and Pikey Mikey in the McLaren doing a 17.9. And we have RS 96 doing an 18.9, so there's a second difference there, but RS did pick up damage early on in the session. Then we have Nicodemus in the Corvette just behind him, and Plots the Duck just behind him in the second of the McLarens, and AGA in the Corvette doing a 120, and at the back of the pack we'll have NFS Freak doing a 123 in the
here at Brands Hatch.
I do apologise for any technical issues there we're having with the audio.
Don't worry. Well, my screen's probably slightly behind as well. So some slight technical problems here at Kent this afternoon, but hopefully we'll try and see if we can work our way around them. So thank you very much for staying with us here on Core TV, and we should be having those technical problems dealt with soon to bring you the best coverage we can of this Brands Hatch Core World Endurance Championship event. Down the hill they go then. Down Pilgrim's Drop they head on the first of the warm-up laps. Of course, there's 2 of these warm-up laps. They'll come in to the pit lane at the end of this lap. change the tyres with the tyre glitch, head out again for the last warm-up lap, and then we should be all set to go for 2 hours of exciting thing at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit this afternoon.
So we should be having the odd-numbered cars on the left-hand side of the grid when they come up for the final time onto the pit straight before the green flag, and we shall have the even-numbered cars on the right. So that could make it slightly interesting, having the second-place car on the inside, as we've seen them now pulling into the pit lane. I actually very much like the pit lane entrance here. It's got a little bit of a skill required to get in well. So as we see Immortal now pulling into the pits, the blue and white overalls of the Peugeot mechanics.
Hang on, say that again, Ethan. The pole position person will actually line up on the outside going into Paddock Hill Bend.
They should be lining up on the outside. That's what the rules stipulate.
Well, that's going to be interesting, because then surely the guy in second position will then have the advantage going into Paddock Hill Bend.
You would think so, but of course the guy in second position will react slower than the guy on pole position, because the driver on pole dictates when the field accelerates. The person in second, but the person in fourth may be able to jump third quite easily.
Yeah. Well, what I'm thinking is going into that first corner, going into Paddock Hill Bend, could there be an issue there with the pole position driver? Because heading down into that section, the pole position driver will of course try and veer to the right hand side to sort of block the second place person, and then that's when some issues might arise, because then there could be some contact going into that section, there could be some issues with the car, and that's potentially where we might have some problems. Coming around again then here as I head down towards the Grand Prix section of the circuit. Again, you can see Mini Stiggy behind there, veering and swerving, trying to warm up the tyres in the back. Ninchin doing the same. TRL Immortal out in front, trying to ignore it all and get on with it, and get on with its start of the race. GTPK behind there, of course, the pole position driver in the GT class. Rebel Rider 20 there as well in the last of the prototype cars in Pescarolo. Again, also trying to swerve to warm up his tyres. But as I head round the Ethan towards Westfield on their last warm-up lap here, we're almost good to go racing.
So we can see the field now lining up on the grid. It seems that Immortal has put his car on the other side of the grid. So this is going to be an interesting start. He's broken the regulations slightly. We've now got a non-double fast start. Oh, and we are away, and it seems Immortal now leads into Druids, and then Ninchin second. As we come through,
as I head down the hill then towards Graham Hill Bend, and it still looks pretty close up front. So talk us through the opening lap here then.
So we've got Immortal first, Ninchin second, and it seems Stiggy has dropped to third. We've also had no changes behind an MP, but GTP Kane has been passed by Pikey Mikey in the McLaren, and behind that Nicodemus has passed RS96. Pox the Duck is still 11th, and Freak has jumped AJ at the start as well. As we come up now through the fast section, we're now really cars now pushing all the downforce, and the LMPs are mighty fast through here. Well, the GT.
Well, I don't know where you are on your screen because mine's all slightly behind, but the cars for me are coming through clearways and onto the start-finish straight again, and we're looking at RS96 is going for the move on the outside, and Nico Demis as they head down towards Paddock Hill Bend for the second time even. RS96 trying to get the cut back on Nico Demis, but he can't quite find it as they head up towards Druids now for the second time. RS96 trying to move to the inside. Nico Demis holding the line again, but RS96 looks as if he's trying to go through. He's trying to squeeze him as they head into Graham Hill Bend for the second time here then at Brands Hatch just this afternoon. It's Nico Demis still holding the line, but RS96 all over the back of him. Again, heading towards the Grand Prix section. RS96 can't for the move. He's squeezing Nico Demis wide. And RS96 are going to go through into the lead. Second, Nico Demis, third, Flux of Dark. And this is only... No, it's not even, because Mikey's in the way. So RS96 is in third position, fourth Nico Demis, fifth Proxy Duck, and Nico Demis has done them again as they go through Hawthorns. So a very, very tight scrap there in that GT class.
I still think RS manages to hold the inside line through there. Nico Demis didn't have quite enough power to out-accelerate him on the outside, and it's pretty much one line through the next few corners. Though That does seem to be having a little look at the back of Nico Demis, but he's up on the grass slightly. That was a bad exit. As we jump back now to the LNP fight, we have Mem79 fighting Glen Owls 81 in the Pescarolo after that Bentley as we come through Graham Hill Bend.
Well, yes, Memento 89 and Glen Owls 81. They used to be pretty much teammates, and now Glen Owls 81 in the Concrete Climax racing. Memento behind. Of course, Memento will be racing in tomorrow's race, I believe, as well. So Glen Owls in that one for Concrete Climax. Memento filling in for AHR, I believe, racing as I head now towards Westfield Bend, down the hill again and up towards Dingle Dell for the third time. Memento 89 again closing up again on the back of his teammates. Well, not teammate today, but his normal teammate, Glen Owls 81. Again, they head up again towards Dingle Dell and up towards Stirling's and up towards Clearways even. Sorry about that, bit of a tongue twister as they head up for the third time through Clearways now and down the hill again through the start-finish line. Memento 89 definitely not looking too confident this weekend. It's normally right up there, like first, second or third, and Memento in fact in fifth position at the moment. Glen Owls holds a good fourth position, which is a pretty much usual position for Glen Owls to be sitting in.
Does seem that way, yeah. Of course, Memento not used to the Pescarolo as he's filling in for ASR Racing. As we see a close scrap still between Pikey Mikey and Kane. RS seems to be catching them slightly, I believe. So this is going to be an interesting fight. It seems Plots has dropped away from the back.
Yeah, GTP Kane as he comes up then towards the Grand Prix circuit again. It's closed up on Pikey Mikey. Pikey Mikey, of course, the leading GT runner. GTP Kane has actually dropped now. The battle will go down behind still between RS96 and Nico Demis. Bruxton Duck also involved in that battle. But GTP Kane as he comes up then towards Westfield Bend and up towards Dingle Dell. The battle here ever going ongoing consistently. Pikey Mikey defending hard from GTP Kane, but GTP Kane will want to try and find a way past Pikey Mikey as soon as possible in that one. And in fact, it's a new car for Pikey Mikey because we're used to seeing him in the Chevrolet Corvette. Now he's racing in that new McLaren style car, so it's going to be interesting to see how Pikey Mikey can do in this car and whether he can hold off the 4GT of Kane behind.
I believe the Ford is a little more settled at the moment compared to that McLaren. Of course, with Mikey changing manufacturer of car, he hasn't had as long to get used to that car, and there might be a little bit of unsettled nature, but at the moment he's doing pretty well. But it's definitely that RS is catching them.
As they head up now then towards the Grand Prix section again, then of course it's long loop as they constructed in 1960s, which is when it was extended again. So that's that new part of the section. This is the Indy circuit, however, that we're looking at Ninchin. Second position, trying to close up again on TRL Immortal. And it'll be interesting to see if Ninchin can potentially close on TRL Immortal and get that move done.
It will be interesting to see. I believe he's got a few seconds to catch up. I mean, they're in identical machinery, so only the setup will be different. We shall see who's got the.
Ninchin again heading up then towards this Grand Prix solo. In fact, he's closed up slightly, it seems, on TRL Immortal. Because normally we're used to seeing TRL Immortal escaping from the rest of the field, but Ninchin is there right with him as they go through Hawthorne. So it's going to be interesting to see if Ninchin can try and close up. Same with Mini Stigley behind in the Audi. Mini Stigley again, we haven't seen him before in the course season this year, so it's going to be good to see these drivers come into this category and try and expand the series as we head through the European events. It always seems to be the way. We kind of get some low turnouts towards the start of the year, just it's all starting off, and then when we head into Europe, then that's when more people start to join the series. We're looking at Memento again as he heads then down the start-finish line, trying to make a move, stick on Glenhouse 81 in front. So it's going to be good to see this one develop over time with him.
As we're now back to the GTE field, it seems that battle hasn't really had any major updates, but I still believe that RS is catching them slowly. It's going to be interesting to see if he can join the battle, and then we'll have a three-way fight for the lead of GTE.
Well, yes, and that's always going to be the case, isn't it? Really, because when you have two cars fighting in front, then the car behind is always going to want a bit of action, a bit of a sniff of that, and go for the move.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see how this battle develops. Of course, if RS is feeling particularly smart, he might stay about a second clear of this battle, see if the two of them come together, and then, you know, be able to avoid the action and come out of the front, you know, unscathed and have a big gap behind.
Yeah, definitely, because if these two come together and find the issue, then that's definitely going to cause the German driver behind to close up again. And the same with the Swedish driver Nico Demas behind. If these two collide, that's definitely going to send RS96 up a few positions and potentially take the lead of this GT class. So it's going to be interesting to see that one develop. In fact, we did see a good battle at Laguna Seca between the two Ford GT40s, GTP Kane and RS96. So it'll be good to see if they can go back in that battle and continue and do round 2 of that one here at the Brunstad circuit.
Yeah, and again, no real change in this battle. It seems that Kane may be just biding his time. If you can just pressure Mikey into a mistake instead of having to make a decisive move. Because this track is not the easiest to overtake. There's only really 2 or 3 places you can slide it down the inside confidently. There won't be... Yeah, it's going to be an interesting fight, this. It's going to...
Well, yeah, because you don't want
Kane
to
goes a little wide, but maybe
go
he's trying
for
to...
another... You don't want to go for a move that's not there. Kind of, you want to make sure that you've definitely got there and got the ability to overtake. There's no point in diving down the inside and potentially causing damage to your car so early in the race. But these two, again, coming up to loggerheads as they come back onto the Grand Prix circuit. Pikey Mikey losing some ground, and in fact, look how close the car behind is now then. The German driver, RS96, really now closing up on these two in front. So potentially, this battle's losing time. So wouldn't this now be advisable for someone like GTP
Pikey Mikey's come off.
Yeah, Pikey Mikey, just to say that, Pikey Mikey does come off the race circuit. GTP Kane will head through, and it's one of these things, you know, one of them had to crack soon, and in fact it has been Pikey Mikey who's cracked. The ongoing pressure from GTP Kane definitely obviously got the better there of Pikey Mikey, and look how close RS is. Because Pikey Mikey went off in front of him, GTP Kane had to ease off slightly, and that is allowed the Black Ford GT40 of RS to go through.
Had 2 retirements now, and Freak retire and AJ to retire, so that leaves Plopsted in last place at the moment. And but it seems, you know, the old saying of the hunter becoming the hunted, and now, you know, Kane goes from full attack mode to absolute defence, as RS is right behind him now. As we switch back for the battle for the actual lead, it seems we've had a change up there as well. Stiggy has now taken the lead. I think we've had some pit stops in the LMP because TRL.
Yeah, that makes sense, because Stiggy was down in about 3rd position, so he wouldn't be able to get off in front of TRL and Ninchin and just pure skill being that far behind. So it'll be interesting to see how that one can play out.
Yeah, well, it would have required a mistake. He was probably about 6 seconds off the lead of Immortal when we last looked, and that was a good 4 or 5 laps ago because we were with the GTE battle. As we now start to see some lapping, Nicodemus has been lapped. As this battle for GTE is still going on between the two Fords. It's definitely a circuit that suits the Ford. It's got a very high downforce, it's very stable, it's got extraordinarily good brakes, that Ford. It's really one of those cars you can drive in deep and really have the confidence for that and the stopping time. And around here with the heavy braking zones, it really helps the car, because you've got the big stop into Druids, you've got the big stop into Surtees, and because of the high downforce and the settled nature, it's also extremely good through the fast section out in the GP part of the circuit once we're off the Indy circuit. And again, you can see RS is just letting off slightly to be able to get on the power earlier than Kane and close up on the acceleration zone instead of trying to dive down the inside at any point. It's a classic technique if you think that if you're not on a part of the track that you can overtake on brakes, trying to get a better exit into the next corner is a very...
Yeah, well, look at RS, he's all over the back of GTPK now.
Yeah.
So, you know, this battle definitely could be coming to loggerhead soon. We could be seeing a very interesting battle indeed developing here. So this is definitely one to stick with over time. GTP Kane and RS, of course, had that massive battle at Laguna Seca, and this is just going to be a massive repeat of that as they head out towards Stirling's and down this short straight, and they're heading to clearways again. We were, according to the total time, of course, on that right-hand side, 17 minutes 57 seconds gone in this race. It's still quite a while to go in this one. We've got about an hour and 42 minutes, so definitely kind of a long way to go here. So it's an endurance for these drivers, plus an endurance for us reporters here to go the distance and to cover these events.
So it's been a very difficult event. I mean, we have to keep ourselves hydrated. They have to keep themselves hydrated. Everyone needs water. Otherwise, you lose your focus, and we stop being able to talk. So as we're now.
Well, I've just finished a cup of tea that we've been given in the studio, so hopefully we can get a refill on tea here. Talking to you, Matt. Yes, I am. As I head down towards the Grand Prix part of the circuit again here, then 18 minutes 45 seconds got in this race. And what's going on here? TL Immortal. It's gone past the two GT runners, and now Ninja's trying to follow. But look how close the two GT runners are. This isn't the time you want to have the overtaking going on, because now it could capitalise the move that RS is trying to make here. In fact, GTP Kane's gone off.
Yes.
The pressure's cracked. Kane's gone off, and RS96 will take the lead of the GT class here at Brands Hatch. TOL Immortal and Nin Chin tries to lap the cars, and look what damage it did, because GTP Kane had to move to the left-hand side slightly going through Westfield, and then off he goes going through that corner. So that's the kind of damage that the pressure can lead you to. That's what kind of issues that it can cause. And Kane has cracked.
He's had the same thing happen to what happened to Mike. It seems the pressure was too much, as we see Plots it up now closing back on Nicodemus. But going back to the Kane incident, I believe that he just suddenly had this push behind him that he didn't really see coming, and he just momentarily glanced up during the braking zone possibly, and that's what caused the issue, because he suddenly broke slightly too late, got wide, and suddenly he was in the gravel and faced with the uphill prospect of having to catch back up to RS. But Plots that there is slightly seeming to catch Nicodemus. Maybe Nicodemus had a mistake as well. And we're now back.
We're just hearing him from our core headquarters that it seems the chairman of core, Matt Story, seems to be pretty happy up there in hospitality, having a pint of beer by the sounds of it. So he's doing quite well for himself up there. There's all the actions happening down there. So hopefully enjoying watching his empire grow here at Brands Hatch today. We're looking now at Memento 89, their fifth position, trying to close up again on Glen Owls. 81 in front. Ninchin still in third position, TL Immortal there in second. Mini Stiggy still out in front, but we anticipate that Stiggy's still got to do his pit stop. So it's good to see that take place. Glenhouse sideways through Paddock Bend. Glenhouse very sideways through Paddock Bend. He can't hold that one. Metro 89 goes up into fourth position. How far behind is Red Bull Rider? Glenhouse is recovering from that. So it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to happen. 21 minutes, 15 seconds gone in this race, and the pressure has cracked for two drivers, GTP Kane and Glenhouse. And now this can't be fatigue even, because we're only 20 minutes gone in this race, so that just must be kind of two basic driver errors, and it does show kind of the danger that pressure can put you under.
Yes, it does seem. You can see, because of the high-speed nature of this track as well, you can see just how much fuel some of the cars are using. I mean, it seems Stiggy is actually doing very well for fuel at the moment. He's got more fuel than Memento 89 has, and he's been going quicker than Memento 89. So that Audi, because of its diesel engine, seems very good on fuel compared to the petrol best Corolla.
Plus, Mento has had to take the kind of risks to defend. He might be having to brake later. He might be having to lock up his tyres, to do all those kind of stuff to try and catch up on Glenelg's. However, with the clear road from Mini Stiggy, he can just put in the laps, keep under the going, and save the fuel. However, a bit of an issue there for him at Druids.
Yes, and RS having the same sort of issue at Graham Hill, just running a little wide. It seems that the cars are starting to get a little more twitchy. Of course, the tyres are wearing now. It gets more difficult every lap now to drive the car harder and faster. And of course, RS doesn't have a big gap to GTP Kane. It's going to be a close run thing. As we see, Glenelg's now pitting. He's probably had to pit with some sort of damage, or maybe his tyres were just worn out. And of course, you look at his last lap time. It's 2 minutes and 4. And Mento89 did a 1:43, so both of them had slow laps. We've had some issues there. It's going to affect their race slightly, but hopefully not too much. We don't want to see anyone drop too far down their respective category times. And as we now see, TRL Immortal now still in second place. He's coming up once again on the back of Glenelg's to put him a lap down. It seems that even the LMPs are now starting to be lapped as Glenelg's and as the last LMP driver in the field, as being caught by the very well regarded and very, very fast TRL Immortal.
Well, yeah, with this it's a pretty small circuit really, the ones that Grand Prix circuit. It's got long sections to it, but a lap is only about 1 minute 12.5, so it's going to be like we're seeing kind of 19 laps gone in this race, and we're going to be seeing the first kind of cars being lapped because it's not a long circuit, so the cars being lapped will come fairly quickly in this one.
As I'm just getting news that we're going to have Adam up front. He's got some interesting news about how the race has unfolded so far. Are you there, Adam?
Oh, all right, fire away, Adam.
Hello folks, I am here. Just a bit of an update. The timing screens we are currently seeing aren't actually correct. Mini Stiggy is not the leader. I don't know if you've acknowledged this, guys, but Mini Stiggy is not the leader. It's in fact decided to basically not acknowledge one of his laps. So in the mind of the timing screen, he's in the lead, where as a matter of fact, he's practically a lap down.
Alright, so what position are we saying that Stiggy's in then, according to the timing screen? Are we saying he's behind the TRL Immortal and Ninchin, or even behind that?
He is far behind TRL and Nin. I am not sure whether he is behind Red Bull, Mento and Glenn. I imagine he's somewhere among those three. I can't put a firm place on where he actually is currently.
I just got some
Sounds
news
good.
from
Thank you very much for that information.
I've just got some further information through my headset, which is Stiggy is in third place at the moment, not first.
Stiggy's in third, so in fact Ninchin's dropped behind Stiggy.
Yes.
No, Ninchin's in...
No, he wouldn't, because Ninchin would go second. Yeah, that's right. It's in front of Red Bull Rider. Yeah.
Yes.
And I can assure you, you were alluding earlier on to the head of core sitting there with a pint of beer. He's actually shouting at the guys running the timing screens. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to get repaired during this race. So
who controls the timing screens? Whose neck is on the line here?
Polyphony themselves, unfortunately, and it's not going to be able to be righted during this race. So we're just going to have to try and keep tabs on Stiggy's progress throughout this race, but it is currently TRL Immortal leading from Nin.
Alright, thank you very much for the updates, Adam, and if you're ever bored during this race, come and join us in the commentary box.
Yeah, I am going to stay with you, I think. I've had quite enough of running through the paddock at Brands Hatch. As you may or may not know, it involves a heck of a lot of running because there's two paddocks and I have to walk quite a way to get back and forth, so I think I'll stay with you now.
Well then, you might have to keep us all. Well, you might have to keep us all going because I think that my video screen is about 4 seconds behind yours. So we'll run with it. We'll run with it, but it'll be interesting to see how that one unfolds.
The unfortunate nature of both the timing screen, which is not quite right in terms of the game, and different timing screens for each of us.
That's the
Yes.
magic of Brands Hatch's technology today.
Still runs on a wall. So if we
Right,
come back now to the
27
action
minutes. Yeah, 27 minutes 40 seconds gone according to me. So
Oh,
I'm not
Nico.
sure if that's. What's going on with Nico? I haven't even got there yet.
Running
As I
into the
head
gravel.
down- He's gone into the gravel, so Nico Demas not having the best of time then here. He's already down in 10th position. He's already just in front of GTP Kane, but that position's might not be able to stand in time. So it's going to be good to see if Nico can hold that position and stay up there. So it's definitely something to watch out for.
As we see, so actually more importantly than Nicodemus having an excursion, I think is the fact that GTP Kane has dropped to the very back of the field. He's obviously had some sort of accident, possibly got something like engine damage, because to drop that far back from the rest of the GTE field, he must have had a major accident and had to go off strategy. So we shall have to keep up with his progress through the field. But that now puts Foxy up.
I was just dashing up to you guys, and I'm fairly sure I did see a moving Ford GT approaching the last corner, the Ford GT of Kane. I'm fairly sure he did pick up damage and had to repair it.
That doesn't sound too
that's
good,
gonna-
really, does it, for GTP Kane? And plus, that's not going to help him for tomorrow either, because his teammate coming into that car tomorrow will now be several laps behind. In fact, quite a lot of laps behind if GTP Kane can't get back out there.
Well-
GTP Kane will get back out there, and I'm fairly sure GTP Kane will be pushing as hard as he can to ensure a decent result from this race.
Oh, hang on, Red Bull Rider's just gone wide. At Druids, I believe, yeah. Don't say you
Indeed
say
he has, so-
and don't say that you saw that like 5 minutes ago, because then we have got a problem on our hands.
Okay, should we all
Uh,
take 2 seconds just to read our total times out, just to make sure we're all closer than usual? I'm currently at 30 minutes and 24 seconds.
29 minutes,
right.
58 seconds.
Okay.
So you need to jump 30 seconds up.
We do apologise for Core TV viewers about this minor technical problem. However, we should get this sorted now, and then we'll be back with you for the remaining session. We've still got an hour and a half of running here at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit in Kent. So it's still a long time, hopefully, to go in this one. Still some exciting racing in prospect here at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. I'm looking ahead now then, my timer is on 31 minutes 50 seconds, and I've just seen a bit of Nico Demas going a bit wide at Graham Hill Bend, and now we've got GTP Kane going down the inside, and through he goes.
You've now jumped in front of us, it seems. We're at about 31.15. So Kane is right behind Nicodemus already after that damaged lap. It seems that he's still right in the groove. That car is, immensely quick, like I mentioned earlier. And yes, we're now getting to this sort of point, and Nicodemus
Lads.
run a little wide.
Just literally tell me when you're on 32.28.
32.28. Okay, we shall tell you when we're getting to that point. So Nicodemus now through Graham Hill Bend, and yes, does run wide. He's run through both the hill bends, Paddock Hill and Graham Hill. He's run through wide through both of them. Now up the inside goes Kane with the fresh tyres and the fire in his belly to get back up into the better positions. Oh no, that was him just unlapping himself. He's lost a lot of time then. So now he's got to go all the way around again to get that position back. That's a long race for GTP Kane there. It's going to take him a long time, but there's still a lot of this race left, and we're now getting to 32, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Are you now back with us there, Luke?
Yes, I'm back going. We're now 32, 32, 33, 34, and now as we head, we're looking at Glenelg's 81 as he comes through. I believe that's Westfield. No, it's not. That's Dingle Dell. Heading into Stirling. Up the hill again then. And as I head towards Clearways there, then we're now on lap 22-ish of this one. Out of the 94 schedule. That's 33 minutes completed in this one. Glenelg's 81 there in 6th position. He's still got quite a way to go. In fact, it's the last of the running prototype cars. Is that Red Bull Rider just in front of him? Yes, it is. So potentially Glenelg now can potentially jump Red Bull and move into that 5th position spot.
Yes, Red Bull Rider in that Pescarolo, and Pescarolo, actually the Pescarolo name has a bit of history here at the Brands Hatch circuit.
It was 1971 when Henri Pescarolo himself won in a worked Alfa Romeo at the Brands Hatch 1,000 kilometres.
Interesting statistic there, Adam. Thank you for your vast knowledge on the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit.
Yes, it's unfortunate that I don't have anything better to do with my time, but a couple of hours every other weekend it comes in handy, so there you go.
As we see, there's another car on the driver tracker that's gone wide through the fast section, and
We're about to see who it is.
That's Sterling's.
Yeah,
He's disappeared, we can't see him.
Nico
Nico Demis has left the room. Nico Demis! A big hit is gone, and he's lost connection, and we're only 35 minutes into the race.
That must be gutting for the Corvette driver. He was having a reasonably good race. I mean, neither
You couldn't
him
script
or
it, could you?
He really couldn't. You couldn't see that coming. He's actually done what is traditionally known as a plux, which is getting to the beginning of a race and then disconnecting. It's a trademark of his. And
Glenhouse 81 has just got past Red Bull.
Yeah, that was for position as well, and it was a simple move. It wasn't anything particularly forceful from either driver. Red Bull didn't defend too hard. Glenhouse didn't overtake in an overly aggressive fashion. It's just a nice, clean textbook overtake. And we shall see. As we see, Tiarana Morton is now behind Minchin. It's probably due to strategy again. But there's a lot going on in this race right now. A lot of strategy at play. We've had some overtakes. And we just lost Nico Demis. So I apologise for the delay on noticing that overtake. But the big news of the Corvette driver dropping from the GTE field kind of took all of our attention away from the field.
Everyone just stopped, didn't we? We just literally all jumped up in the commentary box and went, Nico Demis is disconnected. So, interesting.
It was a full Murray walk.
That was a pretty intense moment. So Nico Demis not going to be happy with that.
So we now have 6 runners in LMP and only 4 in GTE. It's been a very high attrition rate tonight. We shall see if we have any more disconnections at any point.
Well, we could have the whole field disconnecting for all we know.
Yep, that could possibly happen. That would prove to be an interesting thing to happen in terms of the standings and how we'd start tomorrow. But then again, if we were to disconnect right now, we would
Yes, you go.
we would actually have the race red flagged when we started because we haven't completed 70% of the race distance, so it wouldn't be considered a complete race. We'd just pull everyone back here and we'd start the clock again. So that is somewhat good for every driver because it would give everyone a second chance to
a second bite of the cherry.
Yes. So so we just kind of follow the cars around now. There doesn't seem to be anything particularly interesting happening in the race right now. It seems to be a bit of.
This is Ethan what we like to call the sort of dead patch in the race.
Yep. It's time to see what else is going on. See if we can notice any interesting little bits of fact. As Glenhouse goes a little bit too far to the inside there at the beginning of the lap. But while we're in this dead zone, should we start talking about the Core N24, which will be coming up?
Let's. And there's something really, and that's something really exciting to talk about. February, of course, coming up in 2015. We're thinking about hosting another live stream on that. So hopefully, Ethan, we can all take it in turns, 2 hours each. You in? Yeah, you in?
Well, 2 hours? 2 hours is
that.
for the week.
How many are you thinking, Adam? Are you going to be sitting there for like 7 hours on end, mate?
I'll do more than 7. I'll do the full 24 if I have to.
Oh no. So I'll do more than the 2 hours over time, but 24 in one go, mate. That's gonna. You'll need some lockets to complete that. Jeez.
Nah, the adrenaline of sitting alongside you, 2 fine gentlemen, brilliant racing from core spec GT3 cars at the most legendary circuit in the world. I think that'll be enough to keep me going.
Couple of energy drinks on the side as well.
That too.
So is the registration still open for Nürburgring 24, or has everyone got their confirmation in and we're all set to go?
Very much still open. teams, new teams to the N24 will compete in the CSS series using GT4 spec cars in theory, which will it'll be essentially a case of racing to get your spot in the N24, which will be very exciting.
Basically, you have always, we see Stiggy there having a bit of a moment through Druids. It's one of the characteristics actually of the Audi is it does have quite a high nature to be twitchy at low to mid speed. It doesn't have the best rear downforce, but once it's up to high speed it seems pretty settled. But back to the subject of the N24, there's 12 slots for teams to compete in the 2015 edition of the N24, the Nürburgring 24 Hours, and basically, if there's more than 12 slots wanting to be filled, the CSS will be used as the I've forgotten the word, I do apologise. Would one of you two please remind me of this word? I've just completely lost.
I don't have a clue.
I don't have a clue. Sorry, this is completely off my head.
Go on, Adam.
Yes, that's the word. It's qualifying for the N24. So as we have, I think, around 8 teams already confirmed from last year, the top 4 from this CSS will be allowed to compete as well, and everyone else, unfortunately, will have to try again in the following year because this event is such prestigious within the core calendar. Only the best teams can compete. That and the veteran teams, of course, who automatically get their position secured for next year's race, regardless of how quick they are.
And of course, even if you don't make the N24, you're not limited to that. Renault Megane Trophy as well as the Core Super GT Series will both be on the bill on live stream that weekend, accompanying the Nürburgring 24-hour event. So there are plenty of opportunities.
Hang on, Adam. So you're telling me you're going to stay up for 24 hours doing commentary on the Nürburgring 24, plus doing a ton of support races on the side as well?
I said that.
What? Say it again?
I never said that. I'll just do the 24. No, but seriously,
I'm going to say, because I can't hear a word. All this is going on, mate. It's all stuttering. Right, continue. Go on.
I'm not going to do a 24-hour stint really, but I'll be doing more than 2-hour stints. I'll probably try and do. You go.
Sorry, I was going to say you might even manage up to 4 or 5 or 6 hours. So it'll be a massive undertaking for you because, as you know, I will be driving part of the race for my team, so I won't be there as much. But hopefully, I can work the strategy to allow me some 3 hours to be able to commentate during the race and bring in some driver feedback of how the race is going, how the conditions feel, how the cars feel.
Sorted, so we've got Ethan, Chorley, myself and Adam hopefully commentating the Nürburgring 24 hours in February. You don't want to miss that. www.coreonlineracing, I believe, .wix/core is the place you want to go for all your core news, plus on the Facebook page, the Twitter feeds and more, constantly updated by Adam Weller. Of course, all that, the key to core to find out more information about the Nürburgring 24-hour event.
And of course, we've just mentioned the 4 names that should be involved in the commentary next year. We're not limited to that. If you are an aspiring reporter, journalist, commentator, whatever it may be, our ears are open, our eyes are open. We'd be more than willing to give you a try.
Oh yeah, definitely. We'd always love to expand our commentary team existing now and try and get more people involved. Of course, me and Adam are also budding journalists and commentators ourselves, and this has given us great experience ourselves to come and do this commentary. So if there's people interested, not just on the commentary side, as not just via the reporting and the media, but there's also, you can do Facebook updates, you can go and do kind of the background stuff, organising race meetings, doing timekeeping, so it's all that kind of stuff. It's a good experience and definitely something good to get involved in if you're interested in gaming, motorsports and more.
Now then, a shift back to the race, and in the GTE class we see RS96 leading, and I'm about to come out with another one of my statistics. A Ford GT40 won here when it was a 6-hour race at Brands Hatch rather than 1,000 kilometres. Brian Redman and Jackie Ix in the JW Automotive entry, which of course carried the legendary Golf colours.
A fine colour scheme that was as well. As Kane is now coming up to unlap himself on Pikey Mikey, as of course he did drop that lap down. Please ignore the slight interesting toe that Kane has on his left rear tyre. That isn't actually damaged, it's just a small issue with the game itself. It seems to be registering that he has, well, damage on every part of his car at the moment, when, as we can see by the way it's driving extraordinarily quickly.
Pikey Mikey has gone off into the gravel on the exit of Clearways there. I just caught it out the corner of my eye. He put a wheel on the grass and had a small spin. Lost him a bit of time, has not lost him a position, I believe.
No, Plux the Duck is far behind. He's just coming through Sterling's now, so he won't lose any positions. The McLaren's running inverted colour schemes of each other to make it slightly simpler to know which McLaren is which. So yes, Plux the Duck is in the Professor Duck Motorsport black and blue wheeled entry, while Pikey Mikey is in the Made for Racing. Well, this race he's running all ice blue colours livery. This race, as we see Plux the Duck coming through Druids, it seems he's just trying to keep the car settled. He's not really trying to push on here. I think he's just, first race back, he's happy to try and be third. As we see him get a little wide out of Graham Hill there.
Well, Plux the Duck's not too Plux the Duck is not too far behind Pikey Mikey, so if he gets some good laps in, perhaps he might be able to challenge Mikey up front, especially if Mikey's having some mistakes.
It would require Mikey to have a couple more mistakes before Plux the Duck is close enough to have a run at him, but Mike's been putting consistently faster laps than Plux has been this entire race. It seems that the Duck doesn't have the speed this weekend, as we see Stiggy is now quitting, and so is Mike. So Mike possibly got damage, or just is now lucked out with him having his spin as he was going to finish his stint anyway. So we shall have to see how that works out. And
Trevor White's now a bit of a problem.
Oh yes, it seems he has. As we're on board with Ninchin now. As we say, passing Plux the Duck, and this should be it seems to be a fairly simple race now for Ninchin to try and secure second. I think TRL Immortal is now far enough ahead that he's not going to challenge him, as you rightly predicted earlier, Luke. It did seem that your prediction was bang on. Immortal seems to just have to pay this weekend, and Ninchin, whilst usually on his back bumper for most of the race, just hasn't got anything to really fight him with. It seems to be Immortal's race again, but of course Peugeot is still 1-2. It's now showing that they are the class of the field at the moment. Something about that car is just really working. I've heard that it's got extremely good tyre wear, so hopefully we shall see if that can be adjusted by the balance of performance in the next
it's looking at TRL Immortal, up front, he's definitely got the pace. He set the fastest lap of this race so far, so it definitely seems like he has got the edge over the rest of the prototype field. So does this now show kind of a different class to TRL Immortal, that the other drivers have to kind of crash down, knuckle down, get up to speed with TRL Immortal, and perhaps try and crush him going into the next rounds if they want to try and topple him, because it just seems Immortal is just absolutely dominant out front so far.
As we see, Plux the Duck actually managed to holding it round the outside of Red Bull Rider there. I mean, the Pescarolo, of course, has far more power, and the Duck is completely outclassed in the straight. But that was an actual genuine bit of a side-by-side action there between the two different classes. As you can see, RS is now going to put a lap down Plux the Duck. So RS is now a lap up on every single car in the rest of the GTE field. He's been dominant today in the GTE class, even more dominant than Immortal has been in the prototype class. So it's definitely been a very, very good race for RS after having a poor qualifying.
It has been a very good race for him, and just for those wondering, I have seen that Mini Stiggy has fell down the order. That is not the timing screen correcting himself, it's correcting itself.
It's just a matter that Immortal and Nin are now actually over a lap ahead of the Audi driver, and therefore he has fell down the order slightly. I believe he's currently in 5th position.
As we're now coming up just before the hour, where the total time is 51 and 9 seconds, as we watch RS just going wide again out of Graham Hill Bend. I think that might be his preferred line, try and straighten out the corner as much as possible. He's still hunting down the McLaren there to put him down a lap. It should be, as we can see, Mike just behind Plux the Duck as well. He's on the fresh tyres, of course, but we haven't seen Plux the Duck's tyres for some time, and they're just about to finish a stint. And RS is still trying to catch him, but he's a lot faster through this section. It seems the Duck is struggling with his brakes. Actually, at the moment, they seem to be locking up a lot. And we see Plux the Duck there running wide again, and I think there may be a move coming very soon by RS there. It's going to be always very close, and I'm sure the Duck will have to concede that position soon, otherwise he'll be waved blue flags and be, possibly occurring a time penalty. I think this is it coming up now. He's going to take the inside line into Paddock Hill Bend. The Duck won't have any real fighting to do with that. It's going to be pretty straightforward for the Ford to just lap the McLaren there.
Although Plux will not want to lose too much time now, will he? Because Mikey is not very far off at all.
Yes, Mike's not far off at all, but of course Mike has got much fresher tyres, so unless the Duck can suddenly find some sort of another level to his performance, it's going to be really a matter of time unless Mike makes another mistake. And he's on the fresher tyres, much less light.
Look at RS 96. He's RS 96 has definitely been the entertainment factor this year in the core series. He's having battles with GTP Kane. He's having battles with Plux the Duck. It seems that the RS 96 is just a magnet for action this year.
Well, that's the advantage of being in a very quick car and being a very quick driver. You can fight with anyone pretty much, and probably get past them, and you can always be in the centre of the action. As we see the Bentley there lapping the McLaren as well. It's running number 5, which was Jim Clark's number during the 1967 season for most of it, in the Lotus 49, the car which redefined how Formula 1 cars should be made. As we can see there, Kane just ahead of Plux the Duck, and RS 96 makes a mistake there. He's and Plux the Duck makes a mistake there. It's all going a little bit wrong for the GT drivers there. They've all had small issues. They seem to have all managed to fix themselves, and no, that's fine. Plux the Duck wasn't too wide out of that corner. There wasn't a big issue, but now Mike is right behind him. That's about a second and a bit difference, and it's going to be an interesting fight. As you can see, Kane, who just came out of the pits, just ahead of Plux the Duck, so he's now on the same lap, though only just. And RS 96 has to do all the work to get past Plux the Duck again. But this is going to be a race for position between the two McLarens. Both,
RS is off. What?
Yes, we're 54, 29 minutes in at the moment, and RS is finally making these slight slip-ups, and he's going to do a lot of them, however, to lose his position today. Do you think RS can just get his rhythm back together? Yes, Mikey has passed Plux. What a move, obviously, as you said. Fresher tyres coming into play there. Plux perhaps having a look at the inside into Paddock Hill Bend, thinks better of it, which is probably a good decision there from the McLaren driver. But yeah, do you think that RS has got his rhythm back together immediately after that slide?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see this battle develop, isn't it? Because Plux the Duck now trying to find a way back past Pikey Mikey, and now RS, they're kind of there in the mix as well. So again, the GT category providing some fantastic action here at Brands Hatch. Such it has throughout the whole season. It seems that the GT class is definitely the place to come for the entertainment this season.
Yes,
I'd argue that, actually. I'd argue that, because don't forget, we've had some brilliant battles this year between Immortal and Nin.
Nin and Memto as well at Laguna Seca. I don't think there's really
Plux the
been...
Duck is
Oh,
round.
and Plux the Duck. Plux the Duck has a big moment there, takes out the brake marker as well. I don't think that will cause too much problems for any of the other drivers.
He's
Coming
now held up
back on track in front of TRL Immortal, as you correctly say. Not causing too much trouble for TRL either. Got away pretty lightly there. No barrier contact, so as far as I know, no damage.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see if Plux the Duck can now recover from this and close back up on the pack in front, because now he's got a good, 3 or 4 second, maybe more gap, and he'll keep dropping behind for the next few corners. So, Plux the Duck, he's not having the best of days today, is he?
No, it's his first race back, new car, and it seems to be a track that doesn't really suit him either. I think he's having issues with the brakes, and because the brakes are,
now maybe Memto put him off then. Well, actually, maybe Memto slightly kind of put him off coming out, because Memto's coming out the pit lane. Plux might have seen it sort of the last minute, and then maybe took a bit of a wider line and then skates off the track. So was that really his fault? It's a hard one. I don't know.
Well, he's driving the car. There's, he makes the decision of where to put his car on the track, and if he puts it out wide, he has to, compensate for that. And it looks like he ran into the corner. Yes, I think you're correct. A bit wider to allow room for the LMP car there, and just didn't slow down enough to be able to make the corner. That was 100% Flux's fault, and it was no fault of anyone else's, just his own driving there. And it seems his tyres are a little more worn than most. As we see Memto and Gino now just lapping the GTE leader again. These LMPs are just so much faster over a lap, and just can take so much speed through the corners thanks to their lighter weight, higher downforce. They're far more technically advanced than the
well, yes, and we did see, didn't we, the prototype cars starting to lap the GT cars around lap 19 of this one. So going by that, we should see the prototype cars lap the GT cars a good 4, 5, 6 times in this one. So knowing there's about 5 GT cars, you're going to be lapping GT cars in this one about 25, 30 times in this race. So again, it's key to make sure that you pass the GT cars safely, because if you get held up slightly, then that's where gaps are going to fall behind prototype cars. Because if you lose, let's say, half a second per GT car you overtake, then that's going to allow cars behind to potentially close up.
The kind of performance basis for these cars is around the cars which are 2008 to 2009 spec. Of course, the cars aren't absolutely up to date in the game, so we've had to slightly tune them, detune them to get them to around the 2009 spec cars. And they're of course spec'd to be as equal as it is humanly possible through intensive and extensive testing periods from Core HQ. As we come up to the timing screen now, TRL Immortal has set the fastest lap of the race for a 12.032, and he's now 12 seconds ahead of Ninchin and a lap ahead of Stiggy. So it seems like it's going to be a 2-horse race for this one. If he makes a mistake, Ninchin may be able to close up on him, but at the moment it's definitely Immortal out ahead of everybody else, and pretty comfortable. And as we go down into the GTE field, we can see that RS96 is now a lap up on everyone on the field, and it seems that Kane is slowly closing that gap to Plux the Duck. If Plux the Duck has too many issues, then he's definitely going to lose that position and drop to the very back of the field. As we're now down to 10 cars since we had 3 retirements from Nicodemus, NFS Freak, and AJ in the Corvette.
And I will just quickly jump in and note there that Stiggy is still not third. Unfortunately, these timing screens are not going to update themselves and fix the issue. He is currently in 5th position.
Yeah, because we have that timing issue, don't we, with qualifying digital. So even though it says that JF there in 3rd position, or as we like to call him, Mini Stiggy there in 3rd position, he is actually down there in about 5th position in this one due to that timing screen error.
Okay, this error is getting more and more confusing as we go. So
Well, interestingly, quickly guys, TRL Immortal done 21 laps on his set of tyres, 2 pit stops. Some of the cars behind have done 3 or 4 stops, so it doesn't mean that the 2 leaders are able to manage their tyres slightly better.
Yeah, they would be, like I say, the Peugeot is very light on its tyres compared to the other LMPs. It would be an interesting fight there. So as we can see, it's Mento 89 now coming through Paddock Hill Bend. The car gets a little sideways actually through there, and we can see him just behind the leader there, TRR Immortal, so he's gone down another lap. Of course, Mento's not used to this car, it's the Pescarolo, it's usually driving the Bentley Speed 8 from 2003.
It's
smoke up on this. Oh, Plux the Duck.
whoa, there's a Plux.
That's not what he wanted. That was very close.
A bit of a shock there, and it's worth noting that TRL Immortal is in the middle of a Pescarolo sandwich at the moment. Red Bull Rider 20 only a few seconds ahead of Mento 89, who I believe is churning out quicker lap times at the moment. I think we could soon see a good battle here between these two drivers.
Yep. Oh, Mento 89 clipping the inside of the curb there quite heavily. It's definitely,
that's going to affect
ragged edge.
That's going to affect his tyre wear, because if he keeps going over curves like that, then that's going to bring the tyres, and then more pit stops could happen. And Memto's done some of the most pit stops in this race. He's done 4 stops in this one compared to some of the other guys in front who've done 2 or 3 stops. So perhaps Memto being a bit aggressive so far in this one, and perhaps that's costing him lap time and performance during the race today.
As we come up to Druids there, and yes, because Immortal's now had to lap Mento, it's going to be a Red Bull Rider. Oh, he's gone around the outside of Graham Hill. He's managed to pull the Red Bull around the outside using Immortal.
That's a corner where we don't usually see overtaking. Actually, MSV have been criticised in the past for restructuring Paddock Hill Bend. It used to be a very Graham Hill Bend. It used to be a very fast sweeping corner. They readjusted where the track went. They slowed it down, and it's a useless corner now. There's no overtaking. But in this case, Mento 89 masterfully using the situation he was involved in to gain that position.
He also managed to gain his lap back on Immortal thanks to the fresher tyres. You saw him just out-drag him out of the Surtees corner, which means he got a far better exit. So we'll probably be seeing Immortal pitting soon, because he's now losing a lot of time to the other drivers. And as I speak, I do believe Immortal has just entered the pit lane. So that's worked out, exceedingly well there.
Indeed here. Another
quick run through then of the results. Then we've just gone about an hour or so into this race, and so he's got about 55 or so minutes to go in this one. So we still should have TRL Immortal leading the way. Second, Ninchin. Third, of course, Mini Stiggy. Glenhouse 81, actually doing quite well for himself. He's up on some of the prototype runners. So Glenhouse having a good run in that one in 4th position. Some of his best. He's in front of Memto, in front of Red Bull. So a good run there then for Glenhouse. 7th is RS96, one of the leading actually GT running out. 8th Pikey Mikey, 9th Plux the Duck, and 10th GTPK. And my stream is slightly behind, so I'm going to try and see if I can get that all sorted and get that all back working again. But still a long way to go in this race, boys, and quite an exciting race it's been so far.
Has been a very exciting race so far. As we look at the screens, we are just on 1 hour 5 minutes now, so it's very good stuff here, just about halfway through the event. And of course, anything could still happen at the end of the day, with Immortal making that stop, handing the lead to Ninchin. And before those stops, it was less than 15 seconds between the two Peugeot drivers of Thar and IMP respectively. So, some might think, oh well, that's that, Immortal's won another one. Not necessarily the case, as we've seen today on several occasions. The slightest wheel on the dirt can change everything.
Well, in that gap, of course, you're Ninchin. There is only, 21 seconds in front of TRL Immortal. So if Ninchin does get a good run on these tyres quickly now, he might be able to potentially claw his way back into TRL Immortal's lead.
Right now, a chance.
I would disagree with that, because his tyres are well and truly worn out. He shall probably be pitting in the next couple of laps, so it will work out being quite equal between the two Peugeot drivers in terms of the overall gap. It depends how much fuel each of them take, but I'd expect them to be filling the tank at the matter. at this pit stop. But hopefully there won't be too much involvement from traffic or other issues like you say, the gravel. We don't want the race to be affected too badly by mistakes or traffic, but these things are part of endurance racing. You have to learn how to manage these things, as we see Immortal closing back up on the McLaren of Plux the Duck. It's definitely not
there's a car. I'm
races.
looking at my screen coming on back onto the Grand Prix loop. There's a car going all over the shot, going back onto that Grand Prix loop. So something's happened there. So my time now, 1 minute, 1 hour even, 6 minutes 42 seconds. We're looking at Plux the Duck coming down the start finish line.
Yeah, we're still slightly ahead of you here, unfortunately. We're still having some technical issues. We're at 1 hour and 7 minutes 22 seconds at the moment, as we're seeing Minchin through the GP loop into Sterling's. Still looking fairly comfortable in the car, even though it's got a lot less grip than it should have done. He's obviously got that car set up really nicely, as he's now coming through the final corner back onto the pit straight. These laps do flash by, of course, because this track is quite short and very high speed. That the laps fly by. It's a very high number of laps, and it's because there's a very short track.
Well, Ethan, how long do you reckon that Minchin can go on this set of tyres before making his pit stop? Because of course now TRL Immortal is on that fresh rubber, so surely he's just eating into Minchin's time. So surely it's more advisable for Minchin to come in and pit now, instead of losing more time to TRL Immortal the longer he stays out there.
Well, the thing is, if he's trying to, as such, overcut Immortal by the end of the race, he's trying to go longer in this stint and slowly bring it out so he can get a pit stop back on Immortal as such, and he won't have to deal with that time, because of course...
Yeah, because then if he can keep the tyres going longer this time, then he can drag out and have some fresher tyres towards the end of the race, which could play a big part, because then if TRL Immortal's tyres are shattered by the last 10 or so laps of this race and Minchin's still on fairly good tyres, then Minchin might be advisable to put it all in, put in the tyres, put in the fuel, and try and go for a run which could get him the race lead effectively. And in fact now we are seeing Minchin going into the pit lane. TRL Immortal will come through and take, of course, the lead of this race pretty easily. So he will go through. It'd be good to see how far by. In fact, he's going to take the lead by a long time, because TRL Immortal coming into Paddock Hill Bend, and in fact Minchin hasn't even moved yet out of his pit box, so a long pit stop there for Minchin, obviously getting the right amounts of fuel into his car. And it seems as if TRL Immortal will actually be coming out the Indy section and back onto the Grand Prix loop before Minchin leaves the pits here. So a big gap for Minchin to try and close up here. That's more than the 19 seconds that the gap is saying on the screen.
Yeah, it's a big gap. Yeah, you were correct. Minchin did come out just as Immortal was coming down the longest straight on the track, which is not the main straight, it's the back straight really. As we're now heading on board here with RS, who's just got a massive gap to anyone around him really. He's definitely been the class act in the field, as we see Kane now trying to fight back that earlier mistake where he dropped that lap to everyone in the GTE field. Again, the car doesn't actually have the damage that the screen is showing, or the wheels being slightly off shape, and that might be Plux the Duck just ahead of him. He's managed to claw it all the way back by lap 50. I believe that's Plux the Duck just ahead of him. Coming.
Well, it could be, and GTP Kane there. GTP Kane.
Yes, it is. I've just seen a flash of blue wheel.
GTP Kane having a great run of it then, because he had those issues and he's managed to put in the laps working hard and closing the gap on Plux the Duck. And now, how far was the gap between Plux the Duck and Pikey Mikey?
It's quite a big gap between Mikey and Plux.
Because if GTP Kane is in the zone, got fired out, could GTP Kane perhaps challenge for second position in GT?
It's perfectly possible if he's all fired up and has got more pace than Mike. Then yes, but I think I do apologise. They're pretty similar on pace, so it would require a mistake from Mike to be able to close that gap back in. As we see Kane here still hunting down the McLaren. It seems Plux is having a terrible race by his usual standards. He's about to go down to
it shows, doesn't it, as well? Well, it shows as well, doesn't it, that he kind of go to the end, keep battling, keep going, because even though GTP Kane has his problems, he's now potentially pushing for third position in GT because of other people's kind of issues with the connections and everything. It shows that, you know, keep going, keep battling hard, and you can still get something from the race. So, you know, good on GTP Kane for keeping going here, and now he's potentially being rewarded with a good podium finish should he get past Plux the Duck.
Yeah, definitely so. It seems Plux is having a bad race and Kane is fixing his race, and it's definitely, you know, Kane is very much a team player. He knows that he's got to carry on no matter what. You know, if he's having a bad race or a good race, he's got to get those laps down so that his teammate can fix it tomorrow. So he's managing to fix
well, also, we've been questioning his own. Me personally have been questioning his performance today, which is a bit early for me, and I shouldn't have done it really, because hats off as well to Memto89 in third position because of Mini Stiggy's kind of technical issue with the timing screen. So Memto89 there in third position, brand new car for him, doesn't really know it too well with that Pescarolo. So all in all, that's a decent performance from Memto89 to come in with a car he doesn't know and give a good run of it. It shows that perhaps he's good in all sorts.
Yes, he's definitely a fine driver. We've always known that about Memto. I mean, there's great evidence for that. His earlier move on. Sorry, I was just checking if the gap was about the same between the two GTE cars there. It seems Plux might have just pulled it out a little bit this lap. Might have slightly fresher tyres, or Kane might have had an issue. But yeah, Memto89, no one ever doubts his class in terms of driving. He's very much, you know, one of the established elite in these sort of events. He's always been quick. He's always been a very good LMP driver since, you know, the first race of season 1, where he finished second to Plux the Duck after a very last minute late on spin, cost him a chance to take first off the Englishman. So, as we can see, that gap is pretty much similar. As we see Memto89 there actually just taking Kane and lining up Plux in the next couple of corners, probably with that prototype Pescarolo. The gap does seem to be pretty stable at the moment between.
It's all calmed down, isn't it? And hopefully brewing towards an exciting end for us as well.
Hopefully so. We shall see what happens. We don't know what the current tyre strategies, fuel strategies of each car is. It could be that they have very different strategies. Maybe one will pit earlier, one will pit later, maybe someone will pit twice. We don't know yet. It's all going to unfold in the remaining 45 minutes of this race.
And GTP Kane does seem to have dropped back ever so slightly to the back of Plux the Duck, from my point of view.
Yep, I agree. It's something I mentioned a moment ago. I think the gap is slightly stabilising. Maybe there's a little bit
exactly.
of gain
so maybe Plux the Duck is just kind of controlling this gap now. Don't want to take the risk, perhaps preserving the tyres. He sees GTP Kane behind. It's like, right, we need to get a move on here a bit to preserve his position.
I will just note quickly, folks, that on screen we're seeing Mini Stiggy and Memto89 there. That is not for position. That is just Stiggy being lapped by Memto. Unfortunately, as we've covered before now, this is just timing screen being timing screen, I believe.
Yep, I definitely agree. It does seem that the timing screen is letting us down slightly on knowing where that Audi actually is.
Oh, well, that didn't really stop Memto89, did it? He still went for the move at Sterling's a second ago. So, you know, maybe Memto89 believes that is full position. Maybe he doesn't know himself that there's that timing screen issue.
Maybe not, or maybe Memto89 is just one of those drivers that always goes for those kind of moves. He'll always go for a gap if it's there.
He'll always give for it. He'll always put it on the line because because exactly, you know, once you've done an hour and 16 minutes of racing by yourself, perhaps you need some side-by-side battling to kind of wake you up a bit and get you sorted for the final half an hour of the race.
Yep, it definitely is possible. Go on,
heading up again
indeed.
then. heading up again here then. So TRL Immortal still leading the way here then. Ninchin in second, Mini Stiggy according to our screen there in third, but we know he's dropped down to around 5th position. So Memto 89, a solid 3rd position for him. Glenar's 81, we believe in 4th position. Mini Stiggy in 5th. Red Bull Rider 20 around there in 6th position. We've only got 4 remaining GT drivers because of the some of the issues we had with the servers during the start of the race. So RS 96, the German driver still leading that one. Pokey Mikey there in 8th, Buxer Duck 9th, and GTP Kane there in 10th position in that one. Fastest lap for the race, still however being set by TRL Immortal, 1 minute 12.032, and in fact that's about 0.2 of a second faster than Ninchin's fastest throughout the race. So it shows both drivers are in identical cars fighting for the lead, but you know, TRL Immortal over this short lap still managing to get that 2 second, that 0.2 even faster than him throughout this kind of that 1 lap pace. So it shows that TRL Immortal has so much skill to offer the series.
Yep, it's definitely showing us why he's considered such a class act. He's driving exceedingly well today. It's you know, not surprising though either. He's definitely the class act today, and probably will be in every other race that he takes part in. As we're now on board, of course, with RS, still driving that Ford, you know, out by himself. No issues front or behind. Just got to keep going, keep pounding around the laps, and we shall just see how his race unfolds. But at the moment, it seems to just be one of utter serene driving. As we're now back on board.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see this race develop over time. And first of all, then, before we continue with this race, we just want to say thank you very much to our pit lane reporter and commentator today, Mr. Adam Weller, who's joined us. Unfortunately, has to leave the commentary box. He's got a long drive home from Brands Hatch today, so he needs to hit the road before the massive dash out of Brands Hatch. So thank you, Adam, for joining us, and we will look forward to the next time that we are joined in the commentary box for the core events.
Yes, thank you for having me, guys. I will be off now. And yes, enjoy this last 40 minutes. Do text me afterwards and tell me what has happened, because I have a feeling there could be a couple of twists to come in this one yet.
Alright then, the King of Core, Mr. Adam Weller here, leaving us a touch early. Thank you very much for your services today, Adam, and we look forward to the next round where you'll be joining us live in the commentary box yet again. Right, continuing with this race, we've still got about 35 minutes. No worries, mate, at all. My screen's behind regardless, so you'll probably have a better view of it than me, but we've still got TRL Immortal, the German driver, clearly dominant out front in this one, first in this one, pole position, converted potentially to a race win with only about 35 minutes to go in this one and only 40 laps remaining.
Yes, it seems we are now almost 2/3 distance for the LMP drivers, and we have got, like you say, 40 minutes remaining, and we can just see Mem29 there, just lapping Bucks the Duck again. You know, routine lapping for both drivers.
Well, it's definitely calmed down out front, hasn't it? It's definitely kind of this kind of dead patch now in this race, trying to find the best momentum for these drivers, trying to set potentially some fastest laps, get that top honour out there and try and close in potentially for a move during the last 20 or so minutes. So this is definitely kind of where it all kind of boils over now, this next kind of 20-minute slot, where everyone's going to try and make a move during the last 20 minutes, a sort of that patch where people don't want to make a move now, save it for the end, where you're more likely to keep that position for the last 15-20 minutes of the race.
Yes, it's definitely possible if you've had a less than perfect start to your race and you're finally working out, getting your strategy right to come back into contention, then yes, you'll definitely go for that pass. If you're not close enough really to be able to fix something, or don't have the pace to be able to overtake someone, then you'll probably just hold station and wait for tomorrow and see how your teammate can do, instead of risking of dropping positions.
Exactly.
So
well, exactly,
it's a fine...
it's his first race. because it's his first race, there's no point in going for a move now and then potentially risking your car for the race tomorrow. It's better to hold position, then let your teammate have a go tomorrow.
Yeah, it's two in a team for this. It's not just you. You can't fix it all yourself. You gotta trust and respect your teammate to also be able to help your position, not just hinder you. Otherwise, there's no point working as a team. This series has definitely invited and pushed teamwork. It's been one of the most important parts of this entire series, is working well with your teammate to get the best out of the car for both of you. Of course, you can run slightly different setups to help the car feel right for you, but you still got to both drive the same car around the same track. You've got to work out, your car will do the same amount of fuel, it will probably last just about the same on tyres. So, you've got to work those things out. It's general important parts of motor racing, especially with endurance racing, is your fuel and your tyre usage, working out the optimum strategy for you and your car, and then knuckling down, not burying it in the sand or, clonking a concrete barrier. Just got to try and keep it clean for as many laps as possible.
Well, it's going to be good then to see how this race develops as well, because if you make a mistake, especially within the last 10 minutes, then you're going to get laps that count towards tomorrow's race on you. So if you crash during the last 4 laps, the leaders do 4 laps on you, then your teammate will have to start 4 laps behind tomorrow. So again, it's key to just keep going throughout the whole race and to keep the momentum going throughout the whole race.
Yep, you can't lose your concentration at all. It's the same sort of thing, but in a lesser extent than the Nürburgring 24-hour. Both of those, that event is the pinnacle of keeping it on the road as much as possible. That's a race which is not won by having the fastest single lap. It's won by having the least number of slow laps. I myself actually did the slowest lap for my team last year, and also the fastest. Well,
it's good to have that balance.
Oh yes,
it's good to have that balance. Because going fast is good for some places. However, then you want that slow section to not risk it for the team. Because if you're going bonkers during the night time, the chances are you're going to crash.
Unless you're a nighttime specialist, then yes, the distance is so much harder to judge at night, because you haven't got.
The Nevo in Nordschleife scares me at daytime, so at night time, that's just mad. That is just crazy.
Oh, we've just seen a car go off there. I think it was the Audi of Mini Stiggy, just went off at Surtees, off into the grass. It's a very easy thing to do, just outbrake yourself, possibly get a little bit of turning oversteer. You've got to correct it, and suddenly you're sailing off into the gravel. That's a shame there for the Audi driver. The Audi's shown itself, as per usual, to be a difficult car to drive throughout the stint. It's definitely one of the hardest on its tyres. And there's another car in the gravel. I think it was plotted up because Kane has just overtaken him. We didn't get that on camera, but from the driver tracker I saw 2 things that happened. The 2 accidents exactly the same, but the second one was far more important in terms of the standings. So definitely we have seen the GTP Kane there overtake Price with 3rd place in GTE, and that pushes down the Duck to last place in class. Of course, we had 3 retirements early on. So
well, this is what we said earlier about pressure, because you put this pressure on the cars and they're going to make a mistake, and especially now towards the last half an hour or so of this race, everyone's going to want to be pushing for it. People are going to be wanting to go for it, people are going to be wanting to push, defend and all the rest of it. So this is really the crucial part of the race. Plus fatigue is starting to kick in. People are starting to get a bit tired now, because we're coming up to an hour and a half or so of racing. So it's a key stage during this race, really, to get that balance right.
Yes, we're now at 1 hour 27:34 seconds. It's not long to go yet. The drivers will be, like you say, feeling the tiredness set in, making a few more just general errors, but that was definitely a big one there from the Duck. It's cost him a lot, but it also shows just how well Kane has done in this race to get his position all the way back up onto the podium after that dreadful start. I think it was around lap 20 that we saw him drop all the way down, a lap behind of everyone left in GTE. it's a real shame for him. He could have possibly won the race if he hadn't had that mistake. But he's definitely driven a very good comeback, and we should be, see if he can get back onto the tail end of Mikey possibly. I think there might be too much distance between the two of them. I think there's around a third of a lap between the two of them, but there's still 26 laps to go of this race.
I don't know about you, but I'm on 1 hour 28 minutes 8.3, I believe.
I'm on 1 hour 28 and 45. Just sorry about the technical issues.
Oh, I'm losing this now. Yeah, sorry about the technical issues that we're having here. Apologies again go out to the core fans today. However, the slow connection that we're receiving here then from core headquarters plus the Brands Hatch circuits there, then we're not holding it in responsibility against the Brands Hatch circuit, just our the kind of connection today is a bit slow for us, but we're trying to work around the problems today. So we've still got Tyrrell Immortal dominating out front, Ninja there in second position. It says their third position is Mini Stiggy JF517. However, of course, he's not done anything. He's not there in third position because of the timing glitch that we're receiving from Polypoly. So in fact, it is third Glenelg's 81, the Concrete Climax Racing Bentley. Fourth position Memto 89. Then we're thinking JF51 or Mini Stiggy will then slot into that fifth position role, with Rebel Rider 20 there in sixth, and then the four remaining GT runners now, due to that technical glitch we had earlier on, it's RS96 there in seventh, Pikey Mikey in eighth, GTPK ninth, and then Plux the Duck down there in 10th. So yeah, just as you said there then, Ethan, GTP Kane staying in there, staying in the hunt, and his hard work has paid off now, moving up to that third position in GT class and giving his teammates a good place to start from come tomorrow.
Yes, we can see now in the same patch of road as RS96 and Pikey Mikey. I'd just like to to remind the viewers that of course Pikey Mikey is a lap down on RS96, so this would be just an unlapping. If he can come through, this is the ninth position. But of course, if he's running faster than RS96 now, as long as he can make a decisive move and then pull away and get there, he can get his lap back. There's no rule against that. You just have to be, make sure the move is clean. Oh, big wiggle there for RS96. He's got quite old tyres now. You're currently, waiting to see who's going to make probably their last pit stop this time. Probably around laps 69 we shall see the last pit stop for the GTE cars. Of course, they're now 7 laps down or so. So of course that will drop away from the actual race laps that they complete. So we shall probably see the GTE cars ending on about lap 89 compared to the LMPs, which we get into the full distance of 96 laps.
Yeah, because it's about 5 or 6 to 7 times that you will lap the prototype cars during a race, so that does make sense that, according to that lap counter there, then on the left hand side it will be about 89 laps of the GT cars compared to about the full 96 of the prototype cars. Now then, according to the screen on the right hand side, we've got about 29 minutes to go in this one. However, normally we have seen the timer actually go over the lap counter because we do run by the full laps completed. We don't run by that total time on the right hand side, so that's definitely something to keep an eye on and keep in touch with going into this one.
I have heard whispers that there will be an update for the game in the coming weeks or months or so, but there will be a time limit added, so you can do a race based on times instead of just a lap count, which will help us with the making sure the laps are correct to 2 hours instead of just trying to guess where 2 hours would be based upon pace.
Yeah, exactly, and it creates more kind of realistic racing as well, does it? Plus as well, because of the lap, they can only do a maximum of a certain number of laps as well, can't they? Yeah, they can only go up to, I think it's like 900 or something laps. So now with the time update, it allows the series to expand for 24-hour races at places that they were like they didn't have the facilities to do it before, because normally they could only do the Nürburgring 24 hours because it was under that 300 lap limit we're hearing, whereas places like Le Mans you do more than the 300 laps for the 24 hours. So by doing this now time rule, we're opening up a world of doing more races and more time zones, potentially doing 24 hours in places. We're hearing it's 277 laps is the maximum that you can do
At the end
during the Gran Turismo 6 game.
It's 300 laps is the maximum you can do.
300 laps is the max, and then 277 for the N24. So again, that's showing that you can get more time in now because of that, because of having the update. We could potentially go and do 4-hour races at places, 6-hour races at places, 12 hours of Sebring or something like that, 12 hours of Infineon Raceway, 24 hours of Le Mans and places like that. You know, to add in a more depth to the core series without now going over that lap kind of limit that was set by Polyphony. So this allows kind of a greater range now for core events to progress within the future.
It would be very interesting to see if we could do a 12-hour event of Bathurst or 24 hours of Spa. Both of those would be high on my list of events to see. Of course, the 24-hour Le Mans would be fantastic. With the multi-class system, it could be, jaw-droppingly good. Of course, it would require.
Yeah, you could do a prototype type 1 class, a prototype 2 class, and then a GTE AM and Pro ones, and proper kind of copied the Le Mans style there. So that would be a very interesting thing to include on the calendar.
Yes, that would be interesting. I don't know if we'd split them up into 4 categories like with WEC here, because we've only got a maximum of about 16 slots available. It would be difficult to have all 4 classes with a high enough actual fill of cars, otherwise you'd end up with 3 LMP1s, 3 LMP2s, and then 5 of each GT category, which would be a little bit...
Exactly, so it might be easier to kind of standardise it like Core does for all its events, to bring in as many cars as possible in one class.
Yes, which would be slightly easier for us.
Can you give me a time check quickly as well, because my stream's going behind.
We are 5 seconds away from 1 hour 36, so 56, 57, 58, 59, 1 hour and 36 minutes is just passed.
My stream's so behind, I think I'll just leave it from now on in. So we might just have to wing this last few laps as we head in the last 15 to 20 minutes. So it's going to be interesting. So not everyone, however, can drive prototype cars, which is why Core run the GTE class as well. There are some drivers who have a preference for GT cars, for prototype cars, and some drivers have skills in different fields. Like, for example, we've seen Pikey Mikey racing in GT cars in Core. We've seen Memto 89 switch. So some drivers have preferences about which cars they drive during a series. So it's going to be good to see kind of how which cars they'll race for. Will we potentially see during the future some of the prototype drivers switching over to the GT class?
Possibly, they may decide to take the step down from the more difficult class as such, because the prototypes are very difficult to drive compared to the GTE cars. Just that they're that much faster, and you've got to think that much quicker. They're much faster. Some drivers do like to use the LMP cars to train themselves to get faster in GTE as well. Some people do swap over so they can drive the harder car and then switch back to the easier car, and they found themselves half a second, 0.8 of a second quicker, because they're just everything's coming at them a little bit slower. But as we see, the 2 Pescarellos now going through on the GTE leader, they're just putting a lap down. Memto is now a lap up on Rebel Rider as well. I mean, one driver is, to go back to my previous point, one driver who uses LMP cars to develop his GT driving is Glenn Alves. He also runs in the FGTA series, WGCC, which is World Grand Touring Championship.
Well, there were quite a lot of drivers actually in the series, aren't there, who go onto this FGTA category. I think the Pikey Mikey is also involved in that series. So, what is the difference then between that kind of series and the Core series?
The 2 series are actually very similar. There's been some talk between the two sanctioning bodies of doing some merger series, such as the the FGTA is technically sponsoring the Renault Megane Trophy Cup, which is one of the 2 support races for the N24. That's being flown under their banner, but both sanctioning bodies worked on those car specs, and both sanctioning bodies worked on the Super GT, which is run under the core banner. Our core headquarters would like to think of themselves as the more hardcore part of the sanctioning bodies of the 2 of them, but everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I think FGTA would like to probably argue the point on that, but I think that's all done in sarcasm more than anything else. I don't think anyone's actually seriously thinking that.
Now, to be honest, did you just say that? Because now we're going to have, hopefully not, some bad press from the other side of the world.
It should be fine. The FGTA know that everyone says these things with humour behind it. I think both sanctioning bodies have equal respect for each other. They both do a fine job of things. Just do things in a slightly different way, different specs. They run slightly differently, don't they? It's just how these things work. Both are very high-level sanctioning bodies, and they have great respect between each other. And there shouldn't be anything else to say about that.
Both had the same goal, kind of eventually to kind of bring all this motorsport together in one place and to kind of improve the world of online racing. So bringing both series together should actually improve the grids in the series, because then both will have fuller grids, go to more tracks and all the rest of it. So it could be interesting to see the 2 merge for a race. Perhaps the Nürburgring 24 hours or something similar would be a good place to merge both series to bring them both together, because then this could create kind of an easier background operation, having both sets of staff kind of working together to achieve a good aim.
Yep, it's definitely would be a good thing. Both sides work very hard on their separate series, but it takes the pressure off each body. There's it would be good to have that working together, and they can come up with new ideas as a pairing possibly. So we're now currently at 1 hour 41 and 18 seconds. It's not 1 hour 14. That would have been a few laps back. But it seems like everything like it has been for the last about 20 laps is very settled now. All the drivers know what they're doing. The cars would have lost a little bit of power as they've worn through this race. They'll probably be about 15 to 20 horsepower down on where they started. So they'll all need a fresh set of oil, possibly some panel beating done for tomorrow's race. And all the drivers seem to be pretty settled. There don't seem to be any mistakes now. I think everyone's pretty much done their final pit stops, and GTE and LMP will be doing theirs soon. It's just now a case really of getting it to the end, making sure you don't chuck it down the road. That's the most important thing to do right now.
Well, can these guys hold on though? That's the key part of it all. Can they hold on, and can they go the distance? Because with 50 minutes left, it's all going to get a bit hard to bear out there, isn't it? Especially when you start getting tired and everything.
Yeah, it gets more difficult in some ways every lap. You have to fight the tightness, but the cars are, like I said, near the end, lower fuel. Coming to the drivers a little bit, and they've been driving the cars for a long time now, so it should be fairly straightforward for them. But of course they can't not pay attention. These cars can still bite you, they can still make it difficult, but these drivers should be fairly on the
they can't kind of rest on their laurels. They need to keep fighting and keep going, because if there's one small mistake by some of these guys and they get damaged, then that could be their race over.
As we were just saying, actually, we possibly said something wrong here, because it seems Glenn Alves is just overtaking Mento 89 for third place in LMP. Both of them are now bearing down to lap the GTE traffic. I wonder if that will make a difference to the positions. It'll be interesting to see if the GTE traffic really makes it difficult. I think they'll catch them at different times. I think Glenn Alves is going to go through before the corner. I think Mento may just get held up through there. Moto will be wanting to get that position back as soon as possible on his fresh tyres. He's possibly even
Can we
going
go
to
for
make
a
air.
Sorry, Ethan, can we go for a time check?
Of course, it is 1 hour 44 and 11 seconds right now.
Which means that I have completely lost it.
That's slightly less good. We shall just fix these technical issues as they come. Of course, it's very difficult to match our streams up if they keep one being faster than the other. It seems both the LMP cars have got past the GT traffic simply and back past the RS as well. No real issues there. Neither car really lost any time, and they should have their battle coming up shortly once the GT traffic is dealt with from both drivers in the LMP class. So we're now coming out of Druids. Glenelg's in the very pretty Bentley Speed 8, which won Le Mans in 2003. It's actually the third version of the Bentley Speed 8. There were two before that in 2001 and 2002, and then they brought the Speed 8 version through. I can't remember its exact title right now for 2003. And it was definitely a success. Some people do call it an Audi R8 with a lid, which is slightly unfair. They are different cars, but they were, of course, Bentley and Audi, run by the same group. They're both part of the VW group. Yes, there's probably a small bit of a team shared data between the two manufacturers of their LMP cars. Especially as 2003 factory Audi team didn't run, and the Audi team the Josset division of that actually were doing the pit stops for the Bentleys that year. As we see, TRL Immortal far out in the lead now. He's had no real threats for the last 70 laps or so, ever since he kind of pulled that original gap, and it should be interesting to see if there's any changes in the kind of midfield. Of course, with now Glenelg's having that freshly tired Pasquarello behind him, Memto is definitely closing the gap on him. I mean, Memto's considered is ranked higher of the two drivers. Memto's a gold class driver, while Glenelg's is a silver class driver. There was a bit of smoke coming out of the left front on Memto. They was obviously pushing it hard, and he shall be trying to get the position back.
We're just hearing as well, actually, from the series director, Mr. Matt Story, of course, head of the series. He's seen it grow, and actually he's growing it even more now. Then we're hearing that we might be able to incorporate some live commentary with some of the races in the during the future. So if you can't make it to the live stream, can't make it to the circuit to compete in, then you've always got me, you, Adam and Chorley providing some live commentary throughout the series as well.
Yes, it should be interesting to see how the live commentary goes. It'll be a new experience for all of us. We're going to have to make sure we've got everything running, but it should be
exactly, and let's hope we don't do more let's hope these technical difficulties don't follow us around the world either.
Let's hope not. The technical issues for anything to do with live probably lessen than technical issues than on commentating on something that's already happened, because we'll be able to just watch the live stream at the same time. It'll be happening at the same time for both of us, and it should just be, our reactions as things unfold. I'm sure it will be a surprise for us as much as you.
Round they come again here, then we've still got, was it about 12 minutes or so to go in this one. We've still got, I believe, according to my screen, TRL Immortal leading the way, Ninchin in second. It's Mini Stiggy according to our screen in third, but of course he has got that timing glitch, so in fact it is Glenelg's there in third position, I believe. Fourth is Memto 89, fifth Mini Stiggy, sixth Rebel Rider 27th RS 9060, German driver and the leading GT driver in this one at the moment. Eighth Pikey Mikey, not GP Kane, 10th Cup Stuck, and of course we had the 3 retirements from the start of the race. Now then, just tell me if some of that's wrong.
No, you're
Ethan, because my
absolutely
screen
correct.
is about 4 or 5 minutes behind yours, so bit of a technical problem there, but hopefully we should be good then for the end of the race. And you can just see actually down that main straight, or I'm saying now, the speed of the prototype drivers compared to the GT drivers. It is just a phenomenal kind of over speed between the cars.
Yes, it is. I mean, all the speeds are done in kilometres per hour. The metric system being used over the imperial system, mainly because most places use the metric system. So we're up to, well, down the back straight here, we're seeing Ninchin with the toe off the GTE car getting up to 280 kilometres an hour, which is about 170 miles an hour, 180 miles an hour. Just under probably, actually. My conversion isn't 100% accurate on the top of my head. But it's up round there, so they're very quick. Well, the GTE cars will get probably to about 155 by the end of the straight, which is about 240 kilometres per hour. Which I shall update you that when I next see a GTE car going down the back straight. And yes, so the cars are, they're very different. The GTE cars have got about 200 horsepower less than the Mon prototypes, and they weigh about 300 kilometres more, and they have less downforce. So there's, the two cars are very different. Two categories. That's why you have the massive overspeed into the turns, and then the LMP cars can go that much faster through the turns, and you end up with that difference in class and the difference in lap time. And Mento now is right on the back bumper of Gran. He's going to have to make sure he doesn't overdo and try a move that's too desperate, too early. He'll just have to, wait until his perfect moment happens. And he's having a look now into Surtees. He's slightly too far back. He's going to try and cut it into the inside, but he can't quite get it close enough. So he's just going to take the toe down the back straight, up into the GP section, and just follow him through here probably, unless Glenn makes a mistake. It's not really an overtaking pace through this section until you get round again to back Druids. That's when you can start to overtake. There's only about 2 or 3 overtaking spots on this track that are clean. Everything else has to be opportunistic if the other person makes a small error or a big error.
Well, and of course, the series, travels all around the world. Of course, Brands Hatch is one of the great circuits that we travel to. The tracks on the calendar this year are all real life tracks, all real world tracks that we're competing at this year to keep the realism, if you like, within the series. So, this is now the start of the European leg. We just had the fantastic American leg of the series. This is now the beginning of the European leg of the calendar. We then head to Asia, we head to Australia. In fact, we've got a Bathurst race towards the end of the year as well, so that's definitely something to keep your eye out for, because that one could be quite exciting indeed.
Yes, that should be quite good. It should be interesting to see how that one unfolds. Of course, on the mountain it's tight, twisty, exceedingly bumpy as well. We might see a lot of LMP cars bouncing around a lot because, of course, they're so low to the ground. They may not enjoy the track as much as the GTEs, which are a little bit higher up and got a little bit more. They're usually a little softer than the LMPs. They've got softer spring rates usually to be able to deal with the heavier bulk. So we shall be seeing as we see GTP came there in the way of Glen Alls. Will Memto manage to re-pull off that move he did earlier? No, not quite. Oh, and there's the Audi there going slowly as well. That was a tight little bit of a driving there from the two LMPs who are having a massive fight right now. It's going to be interesting as we go up to Druids, and Memto again is too far back to do anything. Glen Alls moves over to the inside slightly to cover it off just in case there was a dive. But these cars are very, very close right now. It's going to be, oh no, as I say that, I've cursed Glenn. He's just spun out at the exit of Graham Hill Bend. It seems my commentator's curse is working as per usual. And Memto is now completely free.
Well, I do apologise that I am not kind of joining in with this later half of the conversation, because I don't really have a clue what's going on because the screen's frozen.
This is a bigger technical issue. We shall try to resolve this one as soon as possible. Hopefully it's just a...
Instead of being 40 seconds behind, I think I'm about 4 or 5 minutes behind, so not the best. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen with this one. So I'll quickly then run over the order again. Then we're coming up, I believe, towards the last 5 or 6 minutes of this one, I believe, Plup, so you can confirm we're into the last 5 minutes of this race.
We are about that, yes.
Tyrrell Immortal leading the way. He's had a great race so far in this one. Inchin they're in second position. Mini Stiggy, it says there, but of course he has that timer screen glitch, which hopefully the timer screen glitch will be fixed for tomorrow's second race with the teammates of the current drivers we'll see it now. Fourth, Glenhouse 81. No, in fact, it will be third, Glenhouse 81. Fourth, Mentor 89. Fifth, Mini Stiggy. Sixth, Rebel Rider 20. Seventh is, it's down to the sixth. A German driver there in the 4GT, still the leading GT runner in this one. Eighth, Piper Mikey, second in the GT class. Third, GTP Kane, and then fourth, Pluxer Doug, who will bring out the rear of the field due to the early retirements we've seen, the connection issues. So then the big story of this race really so far, Nico Demis scoring 0 points due to a connection issue during the first 25-30 minutes of this race.
The only alteration I need to make that is, of course, Glenhouse span out in front of Mento 89, promoting Mento 89 into third place. They've now both put a lap on Mini Stiggy, so they're now shown in the correct order, thanks to the time glitch being resolved that way. We just saw Mini Stiggy having a big moment up into the GP loop, got very far into the gravel, had to dig his way back out. If this had a damage model which simulated as damage to the under tray of the car, then that car would have been torn to shreds. Luckily, GT6's damage model doesn't simulate underfloor damage, so he'll get away with that. He just has to make sure he doesn't destroy his tyres as he pulls away. As we're now with the third place driver, Mento 89, having a little slide, and as we now cut back to the second place GTE driver, he's actually very low on fuel with a few laps to go. This actually might cause an issue for Pikey Mikey. He's almost onto the red line.
Well, of course, just a second ago I said that Nico Demis would score 0 points, but of course there is that race tomorrow, so his teammate can always pull him up, and as can the guys with the problems that we saw a bit earlier. If there's problems for the teammates tomorrow, then teams' results can still be pushed up during tomorrow's race.
Yes, it can be. It should hopefully help the teams which have had issues today. Also, one other note, my earlier speed trap figures for GTE cars were about correct. It's 240 kilometers an hour, a little bit over for the GTE cars, but drivers such as Nico Demis, his teammate, might be able to drag some points out of that team if he has a good race tomorrow. He might get some decent points. Of course, he won't get the best points because, of course, they're 50% of the race down. But they should score about 3 or 4 points if they manage to finish near the top of that
just quickly,
second race.
Just quickly, Ethan, how long have we got on the time, mate?
It is 1 hour 58 exactly.
Right, so we've only 2 minutes to go then. Please pick your driver of the day.
My driver of the day would be RS96. He's had no real competition since the start. He's dug it up from a lowly grid position due to damage in qualifying and has led this race by over a lap from the rest of the GT field for most of the race. So he's my driver of the day. Who's yours?
Well, it's a hard one to pick, really, isn't it? Because you've got GTP Kane, he's managed to stay in there, he's managed to hunt people down, and in fact we've only got now 9 runners, I believe, in this one, but I might be wrong.
No, it's still 10.
It's still 10, right, okay, yeah. So it's good to see, we've had GTP Kane there sticking with it and keeping going. We've had Memto, of course, trying to he's grabbing that 4th position. So he's had a strong performance doing a car you don't know. We've had TRL Immortal out front, cruising away, but for me, the driver of the day has got to go to Memto 89 in the Pesquero, a car you don't know very well. So, something definitely that he can hold on to and keep on with. So a good 3rd position then for Memto 89 in the Pesquero today.
Good choice.
What's the lap counter for the leader?
The leader, I don't have his lap counter right now. It's probably around 95, 94, right near the end of this race. We have got 25 seconds left of the timer. Of course, that will run over slightly due to the nature of how we have to run these events. They run to a lap counter, not a timer, not until that update I previously mentioned is installed into the game, which we are all looking forward to immensely. And we shall see. I'm not on board with the leader at this point, so I won't know until I'm on board with him. We shall probably cut to him soon, of course, because we want to see him cross the line, and then we'll wait for everyone else to have their finishing points. Yes, it seems RS96 is just ahead of Mikey. Seems to be trying to push that lap back that he has on. Mikey's trying to unlap himself one last time to try and finish on the same lap. Though Mikey seems to have just... Oh no, he hasn't dropped over shot, sorry. The Mortal has just overtaken him. Worrying about his fuel at the moment, of course, because at the last shot he had by far the least amount of fuel I've seen any GTE driver have all race. It's just above the red. It's probably dipped into the red line now, so he's only got around 10 metres left in that car. Possibly less than that even. He's going to be very close on fuel. It's going to be.
Well, we've reached now then the 2 hour mark, so we're heading on potentially now into the final lap, I believe, for TRL Immortal out front.
Yes. Oh, he's just finished as you speak. He's just crossed the finishing line for the final time, which means the race will finish now. TRL Immortal comes through to win race 1 of this weekend's Brands Hatch weekend in the Core World Endurance Championship. A pretty much dominant lights to flag victory, pole position of course in qualifying, lights to flag victory for TRL Immortal, so a great result for TRL Immortal. The German driver came into the series and had dominated his races so far, so can his teammate tomorrow, I was here, come through and take similar glory? So TRL Immortal, your race winner, Ninchin will finish there in second position. Memento 89, I believe, will hang on for third position. Grenaz 81 there in fourth. Mini Stiggy will finish in fifth, with Red Bull Rider 20 in sixth in the Pescarolo. With the GT class, it is RS96, there in seventh, Pikey Mikey 8th, GTP Kane in ninth, and then Plucks the Duck there in 10th, Cleveland. And then I'd just like to make one addition. Actually, Red Bull Rider managed to overtake Mini Stiggy for 5th position. The Audi finished 6th. So, yes, Pikey Mikey finished 2nd, as you said, in GTE. And at the back of the GTE field, we had Nicodemus, who finished 5th in the class. He managed 22 laps for his disconnection. Then AJ, lap 9. Finishes 6th in class, and NFS Freak finishes last and only managed 7 laps before disconnecting. Alright then, well it's been a pleasure to join you today, Finn. Join us tomorrow then for the second race right here from Brands Hatch.